The diner buzzed with the usual morning chaos, clattering dishes, the hiss of the coffee machine, and the chatter of customers trying to shake off the early chill. In the middle of it all moved Emily, a young waitress with tired eyes but a smile that never seemed to fade. She darted between tables with practiced grace, refilling cups, balancing plates, and offering warm words to strangers who barely noticed the effort behind her kindness. Though her uniform was worn and her shoes scuffed, there was a lightness in the way she carried herself, as if choosing joy despite the weight pressing down on her shoulders. Emily had been working double shifts for weeks, saving every dollar for her younger brother's school fees. No one knew the burden she carried, and she preferred it that way. That morning, a shivering homeless man lingered outside the glass door, watching the plates of food pass by. Without hesitation, Emily poured a steaming cup of coffee, slipped a sandwich onto a plate, and set it by the door with a gentle smile. "Eat, please," she whispered, before rushing back to a table where a mother struggled with her restless children. She quietly added extra fries to their basket, pretending it was a kitchen mistake. Her kindness rippled through the room, noticed by a few, ignored by most. But from the corner, a pair of watchful eyes followed her every move, quietly moved by her selflessness. Little did Emily know, her small acts of generosity were about to change everything. The lunch rush was in full swing, and the diner buzzed louder than ever. Plates clattered, conversations overlapped, and the air smelled of coffee and grease. Emily moved quickly from table to table, her smile holding steady even as exhaustion tugged at her. She was just setting down a plate of pancakes for a tired truck driver when her manager's sharp voice cut through the noise. "Emily!" He barked, loud enough for every customer to turn their heads. She froze, her heart sinking. He stormed toward her, his face red with anger, holding the empty coffee cup she had given to the homeless man earlier. "You think this place is a charity?" he snapped, his words slicing through the quiet that had fallen over the room. "Giving away food, giving away drinks, do you think I don't notice? You're costing us money, and I won't have it anymore." The truck driver shifted uncomfortably, a family at the corner table looked down at their plates, and the homeless man outside stared through the glass, guilt etched on his face. Emily's cheeks burned as the manager's voice grew harsher. "Take off that apron. You're done here." Her hands trembled as she untied the strings, her throat tightening with shame. The silence in the diner was deafening, filled with unspoken sympathy but no one brave enough to intervene. Emily placed the apron on the counter, her eyes glistening as she whispered, "I was just trying to help." And with that, she turned to leave, her heart breaking. Emily bent down to pick up her worn-out bag, trying to steady her shaky hands. Her vision blurred with tears, and all she wanted was to disappear from the stares pressing into her back. As she stood, the small silver pendant around her neck slipped from beneath her blouse, catching the soft light of the diner's lamps. The delicate charm swayed gently, glimmering like a hidden secret suddenly revealed. From the far corner of the diner, a man in an expensive suit sat silently, having watched the entire confrontation unfold. He had remained unnoticed until now, his presence blending in with the crowd. But the instant his eyes fell on Emily's pendant, something inside him shifted. His breath caught, and the color drained from his face. The coffee cup in his hand trembled, nearly slipping from his grasp. That pendant. He knew it. Every curve of its design, every scratch across its surface, he recognized it as if it were burned into his memory. His mind spun back to a night years ago, when he had been a broken man with nothing, and a kind stranger had given him food, shelter, and hope. She had pressed that very pendant into his hand as a symbol of faith, telling him, "Carry this until you can stand on your own again. Then pass the kindness forward." Now, seeing it around Emily's neck, he felt his heart pound. Could it be? Was this young woman connected to the person who had once saved his life? Before Emily could step through the door, the man in the corner stood abruptly, his chair scraping loudly against the floor. All eyes shifted toward him as he called out, his voice firm yet trembling, "Wait, please, don't go." Emily froze, clutching her bag, startled by the urgency in his tone. The billionaire, Mr. Anderson, walked toward her, his polished shoes echoing in the sudden stillness of the diner. He stopped a few feet away, his eyes fixed on the pendant resting against her chest. His voice softened, heavy with emotion. "That necklace, where did you get it?" Emily instinctively held it tighter, confused and wary. "It was my mother's," she whispered. She passed away years ago. It's all I have left of her." The man's lips quivered, and for a moment, the mask of wealth and authority slipped away, revealing raw vulnerability. "Your mother, was she Margaret?" he asked, his voice breaking. Emily's eyes widened in shock. "Yes." "You knew her?" The billionaire's composure crumbled. In front of everyone, he explained how, decades ago, when he was homeless and hopeless, Margaret had given him food, shelter, and kindness when no one else would. She had given him that very pendant, telling him to one day repay kindness when he had the power to do so. The diner was silent, every face turned toward them, as Emily's trembling hand touched the pendant. Tears filled her eyes, realizing in that instant that her mother's legacy had just reached back through time to find her. Emily stood frozen, her heart racing as the weight of the revelation sank in. The man before her was no ordinary customer, he was the living proof of her mother's kindness echoing through time. Mr. Anderson's eyes glistened as he took a steady breath, his voice carrying both gratitude and awe. "Your mother saved me when I had nothing. Everything I built, every success I've known, began with the hope she gave me that night. I owe her everything, and now, I owe you." The manager, still standing stiffly behind the counter, looked stunned, his arrogance evaporating under the gravity of the moment. The customers leaned forward, their faces softened, captivated by the unfolding truth. Emily's own tears streamed freely, her voice trembling as she whispered, "She always said kindness matters, even when it costs you." Mr. Anderson nodded, his gaze unwavering. "And she was right. Today, it's time for me to honor her." He reached into his pocket, not for money, but for a card. "Emily, I don't want to just give you a job. I want you to work with me, help me lead my foundation that supports struggling families. The world needs more of your heart." The diner erupted in applause, the same crowd that had watched her humiliation now witnessing her redemption. Emily covered her mouth, overwhelmed, her sorrow dissolving into hope. What began as a day of loss had transformed into a new beginning, proof that kindness, even in its smallest form, never dies but always finds its way back.